The night before the college entrance exam. Su Tian told me, with red-rimmed eyes, that the whole class had booked 38 rooms. And I was the only one left out. Before I could even say a word, my ex-boyfriend stepped in front of her, accusing me of throwing a privileged tantrum and not considering the bigger picture. My classmates chimed in from all sides, urging me to let it go. Your family's loaded. Just go get your own room. That was until the front desk clerk looked up, puzzled. Ma'am, your entire reservation was fully refunded yesterday. All 39 rooms cancelled. The entire lobby fell into dead silence. I fished my keys out of my bag, smiled, and said, "See you, everyone. My apartment's just around the corner. Don't let me hold you up, and I sure won't let you hold me up." 1. As soon as the coach came to a stop, Su Tian was the first one to hop off. I was sitting by the window, watching her stretch in front of the hotel entrance. Her ponytail swayed back and forth under the streetlight. The early June night breeze still carried a slight chill. She wore a thin white cardigan, looking delicate and almost vulnerable. "Everyone, line up by your groups. No pushing," shouted the class monitor. Xiao Peng, waving the class flag, "Have her ID cards ready. Su Tian will handle the check-in for everyone." The train car was buzzing with noise. Someone was rummaging through their backpack for their ID. Someone else was pressed against the window, checking out the hotel's exterior. And a few were already debating whether to cram in another set of science practice tests that night. Li Cia sat next to me, shoving potato chips into her mouth as she mumbled, "Sajia, you don't think this hotel's going to be a dump, do you?" "Su Tian," said the group buy rate is only $320 a room. Something about that just feels off to me. I zipped up my backpack and didn't reply. $320. I shouldn't have had to pay that $320 in the first place. The whole situation made me uneasy from start to finish, but my mom said not to dwell on it before the exam. It would just ruin my mood. I thought about it and figured she was right, so I let it go. As I got off the car, I heard someone murmuring behind me, "Hey, look at Lin Sa's expression. Does she think the hotel isn't good enough? She probably stays in 5-star hotels all the time. How could a group buying deal hotel even catch her eye? Well, she doesn't have to come. Nobody's begging her." I didn't look back. Li Xiao, however, turned and shot a glare, but I grabbed her arm to stop her. Beside the coach, Su Tian was holding a folder and speaking with a hotel staff member. Her voice was always soft and timid, like a frightened little rabbit, making it hard for anyone to raise their voice at her. Lu Chuan stood beside her, holding her bay for her. My gaze lingered on them for less than a second before I looked away. Li Chao followed my line of sight and snorted. "How nice. The scumbag ex-boyfriend is carrying the bag for his current fling. All eager and attentive, doesn't even seem embarrassed. Let's go," I said, pulling her toward the lobby. The hotel lobby wasn't particularly large, and the sudden influx of 39 people with their luggage immediately made it feel crowded. With only 2 staff members at the front desk, they were scrambling to handle the rush. Su Tian stood at the very front, head bowed as she flipped through the list in her folder, a slight frown on her brow that gave her an air of focused responsibility. I leaned against the wall, scrolling through my phone with my head down. My mom had sent 2 messages, asking if I'd arrived and how the room was. I replied with a quick, "Got here. It's fine," then slipped my phone back into my pocket. It was a mess around. Some said they were hungry and wanted to go out for food. Others wanted a shower first, and a few were discussing what time would be best to wake up tomorrow morning. Sergeant Zhao called for silence several times, but no one paid attention. Then Su Tian walked over to me. It wasn't until she stood before me that I noticed her eyes were red. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. Her nose tinged red, as if holding back some deep, overwhelming sorrow. Her hand gripped the edge of the folder so tightly that her knuckles turned white, and her lips trembled slightly. "Lin Xiao," she called my name in a voice so soft it was almost inaudible. I looked up at her, saying nothing. She took a deep breath, as if steeling herself, and finally the tears welled up and spilled over, one drop, then another, tracing a path down her cheek to her chin before falling with a soft plink onto the marble floor. "I'm sorry." Her voice was choked with tears, thin, and soft, like the whimper of a wounded animal. The clamor in the lobby gradually died down. All eyes turned in this direction. Lynn saw. "I'm so sorry. I only realized, when I was checking the list, that there seems to be a bug in the hotel system." She paused, lifting her tear-filled eyes to meet mine, her lips trembling as she uttered the words that instantly silenced the entire lobby. "Out of all 39 people in the class, yours was the only room they forgot to book." Silence. A profound silence. I heard the wall clock tick for 2 seconds. I heard a car pass by outside the door. I heard Lisa gasp sharply. Then the entire lobby erupted. "What? We missed the order. No way. What's going on? What about Lynn Saw?" Voices buzzed all around, but no one actually came toward me. No one truly stepped forward to say anything. They just stood at a safe distance, watching me with the look of onlookers, pity mixed with a faint sense of relief, as if they were enjoying a spectacle. Thank goodness it wasn't me. Su Tian was still crying, and she looked beautiful. When she cried, tears falling one by one, her shoulders trembling gently, like a small white flower drenched in rain. "I really don't know what happened," she sobbed. "I definitely reported 39 rooms. I checked the list over and over, but the front desk just told me the system only shows 38. I really don't know." Her hands were trembling, or at least they seemed to be. I watched her red-rimmed eyes, her quivering lips, the white-knuckled grip of her clenched fists. I don't know why, but I wasn't angry. I just thought, of course. "Stop crying." I finally spoke, and my voice was far calmer than I had expected. Su Tian looked up at me, her eyes blurred with tears, as if waiting for my forgiveness. Before I could get a second word out, a figure stepped in front of her. Lu Chuan, my ex-boyfriend, the student council president, stood in front of me now, shielding Su Tian behind him with a protective stance. He frowned, his chin slightly raised, and looked at me as if I were the one who had done something wrong. "Lin Saw, that's enough." His voice wasn't loud, but every word carried a tone of condescending accusation. I looked at him and said nothing. He probably mistook my silence for being intimidated. So, his tone became even more earnest and well-meaning. "Su Tian ran around to several hotels just to get us this group discount. Do you have any idea how long she had to negotiate? Do you think everyone can just casually drop over 100,000 on a summer study trip to Europe like you?" The room grew even quieter. Some people lowered their heads, others exchanged glances, and a few subtly took half a step back. Licio, standing beside me, clenched her fist. I reached out and held her wrist. Lu Chuan kept talking. His voice echoed through the lobby, each word crystal clear to all 38 people present. "This was just an accident. If you want to blame anyone, blame your own bad luck. But if you keep sulking now, you'll affect the whole class's mindset before tomorrow's exam. Can you see the bigger picture here?" After saying this, he paused briefly before adding in a tone that suggested impartiality. "Let me be fair here. No one wants this to happen. But right now, the most important thing is that everyone gets a good rest and does well on the exam. If you got any complaints, let's talk about it after the test. Okay, will it work?" He asked as if it were a multiple-choice question, as if after he said all that, I still had the option to say no, but I didn't, because in that moment, a lot of things suddenly made sense to me. All right, everyone, let's settle down." It was Joanne who spoke. She was sitting on the leather stool at the front desk, legs crossed, twirling a pen in her hand. I wasn't particularly close to her. In class, she was the type who didn't take sides, didn't cause trouble, but would also never stick her neck out for anyone. "Lin Xiao," she turned her head to look at me, her tone like someone coaxing a misbehaving child. "Don't be angry anymore." Su Tian didn't mean it. She's practically in tears. Lu Ziki, standing next to her, chimed in right away. "Exactly. Everyone makes mistakes. Besides, your family is well off. You could just take a taxi and find a nicer hotel yourself. Think of it as a change of scenery to relax before the exam." She even smiled a little as she said it, as if she thought she was being quite witty. Right. Someone chimed in. "Don't let us hold you back. And don't hold us back, either." That was a cleverly phrased remark. Don't let us hold you back. And don't let yourself hold us back. On the surface, it seemed like they were looking out for me, but really, they were just splitting the blame. Half for me, half for them. If I didn't leave, I'd be holding myself back and dragging them down. I leaned against the wall, slowly scanning the face of every person in the room. Most people avoided my gaze. A few looked back at me, their eyes holding a trace of pity, but it was shallow, gone in the blink of an eye. Nobody wants to make trouble. Nobody wants to stand against the crowd. Su Tian was still crying. Her sobs came in ragged gasps, and her shoulders shook even more. Violently, Lu Chuan stood beside her, his hand hovering uncertainly on her shoulder, as if he wanted to comfort her, but didn't dare to actually pat her. His face etched with concern. Li Xia finally couldn't take it anymore. Are you all out of your minds? She shook off my hand and took a step forward. Lin Xiao's room was skipped, and every single one of you see all I called out to her. She turned to look at me, her eyes red with anger. I shook my head at her. It's not that I don't want to fight. It's just that in this moment, I suddenly find these people utterly ridiculous. As for Su Tian, her acting wasn't even as good as I'd imagined. Her eyes were red, but there was no panic in her gaze. Her hands were trembling, but not from nervousness. It was excitement. She was crying pitifully, yet the corners of her mouth were just barely holding back a smile. She was waiting for me to lose my temper. She was waiting for me to pick a fight with Lu Chuan, to argue with the whole class, to turn the entire hall upside down on the eve of the college entrance exams. Then she'll keep crying, keep apologizing, and keep playing the part of the poor little thing who's already so full of remorse for her mistake. And what will I become? I'll become the spoiled rich girl who just won't let it go. The petty, unforgiving person who nitpicks over every little slip-up. The troublemaker who can't see the bigger picture on the eve of the college entrance exams. She'll probably cry all night, and then walk into the exam hall tomorrow with puffy, red eyes. Everyone will feel sorry for her. Everyone will think I'm the one who bullied her. Then I'll just lose it. The next day, sitting in the exam hall, my mind was consumed by that incident. I couldn't write my Chinese essay, and couldn't solve the math problems. That's exactly what she wanted all along. I looked at Su Tian, at her tear-streaked face, and those overly bright eyes, and suddenly everything seemed crystal clear. I said to Li Xiyuan, "It's fine." Then I turned my gaze back to Su Tian. Su Tian. She looked up at me with tear-filled eyes. I gave a slight smile. When exactly was this bug you mentioned discovered? She was taken aback, clearly not expecting that question. But she quickly composed herself and said, her voice trembling, Just now, when I was checking the list, the front desk said the system only showed 38 bookings. I looked over and over, but I just couldn't find your name." "I see." I nodded, my tone calm. "Did the hotel send a confirmation text or email when you made the booking?" "Yes, there were some, but I was too busy at the time to go through them one by one. Could you pull up the confirmation for me? I'd like to see where the breakdown occurred." She froze. A tear still clung to the corner of her eye, but her expression momentarily stiffened. "The text, I thought it was taking up space, so I deleted it." "Where's the mailbox?" Also cleared it out. "You know, you're supposed to clean up your phone before exams to make space for studying." I nodded and didn't press further. People around began whispering. It was unclear whether they were talking about her coincidence or my aggressive behavior. Su Tian's eyes welled up again, this time her tears falling even harder. "Lhasa, don't you believe me? I really didn't mean to. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." As she spoke, she took 2 steps forward, as if to take my hand. Lu Chuan stepped in front of her, glaring at me. "Lin Sa, are you done yet?" Su Tian already apologized. "What more do you want? Do you want her to kneel in front of you?" 3 Lao Lu walked in looking worn out. His hair was a mess, his shirt collar half tucked and half flipped out, a thermos in hand, and his face clearly said, "I am exhausted. Don't give me any trouble." "What's all this racket?" His voice rose the moment he stepped inside. "I could hear you all the way from the parking lot." "How disgraceful." The lobby fell silent at once. Joanne rose from the leather stool. Lu Ziki closed her mouth, and even Su Tian's sobs quieted down. Old Lu swept his gaze over the crowd, and his eyes finally settled on me. And Su Tian, he frowned. What's going on? No one dared to speak. Then Su Tian burst into tears again. Her tears seemed to have a switch. She could turn them on whenever she needed to. She wiped away her tears while stammering through the events, omitting all details that could harm her case, saying only the system had a bug. I really double-checked. And I don't know how this happened. She spoke with genuine emotion, adding at the end, "It's all my fault. Mr. Lu, please don't blame Lin Sa." What a line. Don't blame Lin Sa. As if I were the one making a scene. Old Lu's expression changed. He glanced at Su Tian's tear-stained eyes, then at me leaning against the wall, and fell silent for a couple of seconds. Then he waved his hand impatiently. Is that all? The voice was loud, laced with the impatience of someone who felt they'd been bothered over nothing. Lin Sa. He turned to me, his tone like that of an adult, lecturing a petulant child. You've always been a top student. You need to see the bigger picture. Su Tian has been running herself ragged serving everyone. Even if she hasn't done a perfect job, she's put in the effort. Are you really going to make a scene over one mist room and ruin 3 years of hard work for everyone? Mr. Lu. Li Xiao couldn't help but interject. Lin Sa isn't the one making a scene. It's I didn't ask you. Old Lu shot her a look, silencing her instantly. He thumped his thermos down on the table and issued a direct order. Go find yourself a hotel nearby. Take a cab. It's just a few bucks, and you can certainly afford it. Stop wasting everyone's time. Wrap it up and go get some rest. He finished speaking and immediately started ushering people out as if the matter had been resolved. As if with just a word from him, all problems simply ceased to exist. Su Tian lowered her head, wiping away tears with the back of her hand. But I noticed that her hand, as it brushed her tears, also covered her mouth, and at that hidden angle, unseen by anyone else, the corner of her lips lifted ever so slightly. That's the expression, that fleeting moment of triumph. Let me confirm everything. Mr. Lu. I called out to old Lu, who was about to head for the elevator. He turned back, frowning deeper. What else is it? You just told me not to ruin everyone's 3 years of hard work. I said, my voice calm, so calm it surprised even me. Then let me ask you a question. What's the problem? Am I a student in this class? He paused for a moment. Of course you are. Then the group buying VIP paid. Was it the same amount as everyone else's? Yes, it was. If I pay the same as everyone else, then why don't I get a room? I had old Lu stumped. The gazes of the surrounding classmates began shifting back and forth between old Lu and me again. Some lowered their heads, others scratched the backs of their necks, and a few subtly shuffled half a step to the side, trying to distance themselves from the awkwardness. Su Tian's sobbing stopped. She looked up at me, a flicker of surprise in her eyes. She probably hadn't expected me to catch on right then, that I wouldn't lose my temper or break down, but would instead pinpoint the fundamental flaw in the entire chain of logic. Su Tian forgot to book my room. Whether it was intentional or not, she's the one who made the mistake. So why am I the one facing the consequences? I looked at old Lu. You're my homeroom teacher. Did you stand up for me even once in this whole mess? Did you even ask her about it? Lao Lu's face flushed pale, and then red. After all these years as a homeroom teacher, he'd probably never been confronted like this by a student before. Lin Xiao, that's going too far. Su Tian meant well. Does good intent absolve one from responsibility for causing harm? I cut him off. My voice was still quiet, but the lobby was so silent that every word carried clearly to everyone's ears. If she had kindly offered to hold her exam admission ticket on the day of the Gaokao, and then accidentally lost it, would you have just said, "Oh, forget it. Go get a replacement yourself. It's only a few dozen yuan anyway." Old Lu's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. His thermos mug still sat on the table. The lid wasn't screwed on tightly, and a wisp of steam curled up from the rim, rising gently in the midst of his awkward silence. The lobby was so quiet that the only sound was the ticking of the wall clock. Then Su Tian spoke up. Her voice returned to that soft, trembling tone, thick with tears, and a nasal whine. Lin Xiao, You're right. It's my fault. Don't blame Teacher Lou. I'll go check with the front desk again. See if we can get an extra room. As she spoke, she hurried toward the front desk, her quick steps suggesting a genuine effort to make amends. Lu Chuan trailed behind, and as he passed by me, he lowered his voice and muttered, "Happy now." I ignored him. Li Xia trembled with anger beside her. Saw she, you should have exposed her back there. Those things. Sao? I grabbed her wrist, but no rush. I watched Su Tian frantically flipping through the folder, saw her tearfully saying something to the receptionist, and saw Lu Chuan standing beside her in a protective, "I've got you" stance. No rush. The clock on the front desk showed 8:30. There were exactly 12 and half hours left until the exam started at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. That was more than enough time. Su Tian walked to the front desk, holding a folder, and handed over her ID card. Her voice was still soft and fragile, carrying a hint of hoarseness from crying that tugged at the heartstrings. "Hello. Could you please help us check in for the group Class 1, Grade 12, City Number 1 High School?" The receptionist offered a professional smile, took the ID card, and bent her head to start typing on the keyboard. Su Tian turned around, offering an apologetic smile to her classmates behind her. "Just a moment. Everyone. Almost done. I really double-checked the list earlier. I don't know why I missed one room." She's still acting. I leaned against the wall, watching the receptionist's fingers dance across the keyboard. Her expression shifted from a smile to focus, then from focus to confusion. She glanced up at Su Tian, then bent her head and typed a few more keystrokes. Finally, her fingers went still. "Mum." The receptionist looked up, her face wearing the standard expression of confusion. Su Tian turned her head. "MHM, is it ready?" "Excuse me. I'd like to confirm something with you," the receptionist said, slightly turning the computer screen towards Su Tian as if to let her see for herself. "Your order. What's wrong?" "Regarding this booking, the reservation was verified over the phone by the guest yesterday evening, and a full refund has already been processed." Su Tian's smile froze on her face. The receptionist continued in her professional, polite, and utterly detached tone to deliver the rest of the sentence. "All 39 rooms have been cancelled." I looked at Lu Chuan, looking at this guy I once had feelings for. It suddenly hit me just how stupid he was. Too stupid to see Su Tian was putting on an act. Too stupid to volunteer as someone else's pawn. Too stupid to think his current champion of justice act was anything but pathetic. "Lu Chuan," I said, "you're in my way." He clearly didn't expect me to say that, and he choked up for a moment, for the silence lasted for about 3 seconds. Then the entire hall erupted like cold water thrown into a pot of boiling oil, crackling and exploding in chaos. "What?" Zhao Peng was the first to shout, even forgetting to hold up the class banner. "A full refund? Everything's cancelled? Su Tian, have you lost your mind?" "No, wait." Su Tian's face instantly went pale, her voice cracking. "That's impossible. How could everything be cancelled? There must be a system error." She lunged towards the front desk, gripping the marble countertop with both hands and leaning her whole upper body over it, her voice sharp and frantic. "Check it again. Check it again." She stopped mid-sentence, as if she had suddenly bitten her tongue, and forcefully swallowed the rest of her words. "I only cancelled one." She corrected herself quickly, though her voice had already lost its steadiness. "It's impossible. How could they all be cancelled?" The receptionist was startled by her reaction, but maintained her professional patience. She looked down and tapped a few more keys on her keyboard. The screen's light reflected on her face, her brow slightly furrowed as if she were carefully checking something. "Ma'am, it was indeed cancelled yesterday at 6:42 p.m., she said, looking up, her tone definitive. The cancellation was verified over the phone. The person who made the booking provided the last 6 digits of their ID card and the order number. Our customer service processed the full refund according to procedure." The last 6 digits of the ID, Joey An's voice emerged from the crowd. "Wouldn't that mean Su Tian did it herself? Who else could possibly know her ID number?" Su Tian whipped her head around, eyes wide with shock. "I didn't. I swear I didn't." "Then who cancelled it?" "A ghost. I damn it." Sultian, what the hell are you playing at? Lu Ziki slammed her backpack to the ground and stormed over. Are you trying to say Lin SAS stole your ID, took your phone, and canceled it for you? The words hung in the air, and for a second, the surrounding area fell silent. Then all eyes turned to me in unison. I was drinking water. The lid of my thermos just unscrewed, and before the steam even had a chance to rise, I realized everyone was looking at me again. I twisted the lid back on the cup and smiled in response to their gazes, a meaningless smile. Lu Ziki, I said, use your head. If I had known the order was cancelled at 6:42 p.m. yesterday, would I have bothered following your bus here tonight? Do I look like I'm here for the drama? Lu Ziki was left speechless, her lips parting slightly, but no words coming out. Exactly. Lin SAS didn't know anything from start to finish. She was with us in class all day yesterday. When would she have had time to pull any of this off? This is the hotel's fault, Su Tian shrieked, pointing an accusing finger at the receptionist as if she had just grabbed a lifeline. What is wrong with your hotel? You blame me for your system glitch. I'm going to file a complaint. I'm calling 12315. Her voice, sharp and piercing, echoed several times in the cavernous lobby. The receptionist, sprayed with spittle, instinctively took half a step back, a flicker of hurt flashing across her face. Mom, please calm down. How can I calm down? The National College entrance exam is tomorrow. Your hotel canceled all the rooms I booked, and now 39 students have nowhere to stay. How am I supposed to calm down? She spoke with such confidence, as if the person who had just teared up and said, I missed a room, wasn't her at all. Joe was pacing anxiously nearby, even forgetting his thermos, waving his hands frantically in the air. Stop arguing. What are you all standing around for? Grab your phones and check if there's another hotel nearby. Let's figure out where to stay tonight first. No one moved. The night before the college entrance exams. Good luck finding a vacant room in any hotel near the testing centers. That's common sense. Zhou Ping had already started making calls, one after another, hanging up each in under 20 seconds, his expression growing darker by the minute. Lu Ziki and Zhou Yan were also on their phones, scrolling frantically through their screens, but after a long while, they hadn't found a thing. Licia leaned in close to me and muttered a filthy curse under her breath. I didn't say a word. I watched Su Tian leaning over the front desk, arguing with the server, her face flushed with emotion, beads of sweat forming on her forehead. Her reaction was far too intense, 100 times more intense than when she realized she'd forgotten to book a room for someone 5. The receptionist, likely encountering such a situation for the first time, flushed bright red, but still managed to maintain her professional composure. She took a deep breath and spoke in as calm a tone as possible. Mom, please don't worry. Our calls are recorded, and I can pull up the recording to verify. Recording? Su Tian was taken aback. Then her voice rose sharply. You recorded this? What gives you the right to record? Don't you know that's a violation of privacy? This is our service process, which will be automatically recorded during the phone verification. I don't accept this. Your own system has a bug, and you're trying to pin it on me. I want to speak to your manager. I am the manager on duty. A woman with short hair, dressed in a black suit, emerged from the office behind the front desk. Her name tag read Front Office Manager. Woman. Her voice wasn't loud, but an inexplicable air of authority that commanded silence. Manager Wu walked over to the front desk computer, glanced down at the screen for a moment, then looked up at Su Tian. Her gaze then swept across the lobby, taking in the crowd of over 30 students, and the pile of luggage. Let's get the facts straight first, she said, turning to the receptionist. Xiao Zhao, pull up the recording of that order cancellation call from yesterday evening. Yes, manager. Su Tian's face grew even paler. It wasn't the pallor of someone wronged and furious. It was the ashen white of someone whose heart was being squeezed, leaving them breathless. Her fingers gripped the edge of the front desk, so tightly her knuckles turned white. Su Tian. Zhao Ping put down the phone, frowning at her. What exactly did you do? Think carefully. Could you have mixed something up? Su Tian's voice wavered for a moment before steadying, her denial resolute. I never canceled anything. I didn't make any calls that night at all." As she spoke, she turned to face everyone. Her eyes welled up again, and her voice took on that pitiful, wounded tone once more. "I really didn't. You have to believe me, even if I were the biggest fool. Why would I cancel everyone's rooms the night before the college entrance exams? What possible good would that do me?" That was a clever thing to say. It wasn't a defense, but a counter-question. She threw the question back at everyone. What benefit would she possibly gain from it? Who would do something that offers no benefit? Some began to hesitate. "Yeah, you're right. Sue Tion wouldn't hurt herself, would she? She's living here, too. Maybe it's actually the hotel system's fault, and they're just trying to avoid responsibility by blaming Sue Tion. Yeah, it's not the first time a big company has taken advantage of students. The wind is slowly shifting." Sue Tion sensed the slightest crack in his composure, and immediately sniffed, her eyes welling up with more tears. Her voice softened like a cloud of cotton. "I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have chosen this hotel. I shouldn't have been so cheap, trying to save a little money. If I'd picked a proper one back then, none of this would have happened." 3 sentences turned himself from a suspect into a victim. Lu Chuan stood beside her, his expression complicated. Yet, he leaned just a little closer, his hand lifted slightly, as if to pat her shoulder in comfort, but didn't quite come down. "Manager Wu." "Right." Lu Chuan cleared his throat, adopting the tone he used back when he was student council president. Sharp, authoritative, ready to negotiate. "The call recording involves our students' personal privacy. You recorded it without permission. Even if you pull it up, legally speaking, it can't be used as Lu Chuan." I called him by his full name. He paused for a moment, then turned his head to look at me. The entire lobby fell silent for a moment, because from the moment I walked in until now, I had barely said a word. When I should have been questioned, I didn't question. When I should have been angry, I didn't get angry. When I should have felt wronged, I didn't show it. I just stood there leaning against the wall as if none of this had anything to do with me. But I'm speaking up now. I looked at Lu Chuan and said flatly, "They're investigating how the order got cancelled out of the blue. What are you stirring up trouble for?" His face went rigid, his mouth open halfway, but no words came out. I didn't look at him again. Manager Wu nodded at the receptionist. "Play it." 6 Xiao Zhou connected his laptop to a round Bluetooth speaker on the front desk, then tapped a few times on the touchpad. Sue Tion stood there, her lips pressed into a thin line, her jaw clenched tight. Her hands had come down from the desk at some point, hanging at her sides, gripping the hem of her school uniform. "Sue Tion, Lu Xiao," leaning close to my ear, her voice lowered to a whisper only I could hear. "Look at her hands. I think she's acting very suspicious." Her knuckles were trembling, slightly. At first, it was barely noticeable, but as the speaker emitted 2 crackling bursts of static, the trembling grew more and more pronounced. The audio has started playing. A robotic female voice says, "Hello, this is the Wanjing Hotel Reservation Center. For quality assurance, this call may be recorded. How can I assist you?" Then a girl's voice, barely above a whisper, "Hello, I processed a refund on my phone earlier. Could you confirm if it went through?" The air in the lobby froze. That voice, that soft, thin voice tinged with a hint of timidity. It wasn't Sue Tion. Who else could it be? The customer service agent's voice on the phone was clear. "Certainly, ma'am. Could you please tell me which order you'd like to cancel? Please provide the order number or the booker's mobile number." Sue Tion's voice came through. Again, even lower now, as if she was pressing the phone tightly to her lips, terrified that anyone nearby might overhear a single word. "The booking is under my name. Sutian. It's the group order for Class 1. Grade 12 of City Number 1 High School. I'd like to confirm." She paused. There was a half-second of silence in the recording, filled only by her very faint, very soft breathing, one breath after another, hurried yet restrained. Then she asked, "Has the reservation for a woman named Lin Xiao been cancelled?" The receptionist, Xiao Qiao, looked up from her screen and fixed her gaze on Sue Tion's face. Sue Tion's face had drained of all color. The recording continued. The customer service agent fell silent for a few seconds. presumably checking the system. Then her voice came back on, tinged with confusion. Mum, are you referring to Ms. Lin Shaw's room within the group booking? My system shows that all reservations under this order. Yeah, just her room. Su Tian's voice cut in, as if she'd gotten the answer she wanted, and didn't want to hear another word. It's been cancelled. Right. It's already cancelled. Isn't it? It's been cancelled. But okay. Yes. Thank you. A beep. The call disconnected then. Just as everyone thought the recording was over, another voice came through the speaker. It was the customer service agent. She must have thought the line was still open or was talking to herself on the disconnected call. Her voice came through the Bluetooth speaker. Crystal clear. Every word distinct. Ma'am, I'm not finished yet. Besides the mess, Lansa, all the other 38 rooms you booked have been cancelled, and the entire reservation has been refunded. Hello, ma'am. The line had already gone dead. The customer service representative called out. Hello. A couple more times. Muttered. Why are they in such a hurry to hang up? And then the recording finally ended. Xiao Zhou hit pause, then looked up at Su Tian with a complicated expression. Manager Wu stood beside them, arms crossed over his chest. His face wore an unreadable look, as if he had something to say, but then thought better of it. Su Tian stood before the front desk, her hands still clutching the hem of her school uniform, her knuckles white to the point of looking blue. Her lips moved as if searching for words, but nothing came out. Xiaopeng turned to look at her. His neck flushed a deep crimson. You? He couldn't even form a complete sentence. Zhou Yan's pen clattered to the floor. No one bent down to pick it up. Lu Ziki stood in the crowd, her mouth agape, and eyes wide with shock. It was as if she had just watched a mystery film where the killer was revealed, only to discover the culprit was someone she knew. And Su Tian stood there, her body swaying slightly. Her lips trembled, and the glistening moisture in her eyes was genuine now. Her gaze swept frantically across the hall, over Xiaopeng's flushed face, past Zhou Yan's look of utter astonishment, and finally resting on Lu Ziki's slowly closing mouth. Then it moved to land on Lu Chuan's face, which had gone completely rigid. Finally, it scanned me. I leaned against the wall, still holding the cup of water I hadn't gotten to drink, and glanced at her. Su Tian, I said, my voice low, but carrying clearly through the quiet hall. Did you just say it was a system bug? No one answered me. After the recording finished playing, the lobby fell silent for a good 10 seconds. Then Jia Peng was the first to explode. Su Tian, are you out of your mind? He slammed the class banner onto the floor, the pole clattering against the marble with a sharp, grating sound. You specifically called to confirm Lin Shaw's room was cancelled. Just hers. What the hell is that supposed to mean? Su Tian took a step back, her spine hitting the cold marble of the reception desk. Her whole body trembled violently, like a leaf in a storm. Her lips quivered, and the tears that had welled in her eyes finally spilled over. But this time, no one felt an ounce of pity for her. No, it's not what you think. Her voice came in broken fragments, like a skipping tape. I happened to see that Lin Shaw had already processed the refund. I thought she did it herself. I only wanted to confirm whether the system had registered it properly. I never meant to hurt anyone. I was trying to cover for Lin Shaw. It must have been her who you didn't mean to hurt everyone. Joey, and had risen from the leather stool without anyone noticing, her expression shifting from shock to fury. If you didn't mean to hurt anyone, why refund the money? And why refund Lin Shaw specifically of all people? Do you think we're deaf or stupid? No, I really didn't cancel it. I was just worried there might be an issue with Lin Shaw's room. I wanted to help her check. Are you going to help her confirm it? Lu Ziki burst into a laugh, sharp and bitter, the kind that comes after being pushed to the edge. Su Tian, you're going to help her confirm whether the room was cancelled. Didn't you just tell Lin Shaw that the system had a bug and missed the room? You cancelled it yourself. You called to confirm it yourself. And now you're telling her the system had a glitch. Do you really think everyone else is as stupid as you? Su Tian's mouth hung open, slack. Her eyes darted frantically through the crowd, like a drowning person searching for something to cling to. She found Lu Tran. Lu Tran stood at the edge of the crowd, his expression hard to describe. The sense of righteousness he'd worn when stepping in front of Su Tian was still half there, but the other half had been shattered by the low-voiced line from the recording. Was a room booked under a woman named Lin Saw cancelled. His face looked like he'd swallowed a fly, neither able to swallow it down or spit it out. Frozen in place, Lu Chuan. Su Tian's voice softened, trembling with tears. Please say something for me. I really didn't mean it. Lu Chuan opened his mouth slightly, couldn't bring himself to say anything. Zhao Ping answered for him. You still want him to speak up for you? Lu Chuan, didn't you just say Lin Saw was throwing a spoiled tantrum? Weren't you the one accusing her of not considering the bigger picture? Well, who's the one who ruined the bigger picture now? Tell me. Lu Chuan's face flushed and paled in turns, his Adam's apple bobbing several times before he finally forced out the words. I don't know. You don't know. If you don't know, then shut up. Zhao Ping snapped at him before turning back to Su Tian. Listen up, Su Tian. The college entrance exam is tomorrow, and you just cancel the rooms for all 39 of us. Where are we supposed to sleep tonight? In your heart. Su Tian flinched at the shout, shrinking back with her shoulders hunched, tears streaming uncontrollably down her face. But this time, no one stepped forward to pat her shoulder. No one offered her a tissue. No one gathered around to murmur. Don't cry. Don't cry. An empty circle had formed around her. The homeroom teacher stood just 2 steps away from her, his face 10 times more livid than before. His thermos still sat on the desk, the lid askew, the tea inside long gone cold. His mouth opened and closed several times before he finally uttered 4 words. You're out of your mind. His hands trembled as he spoke. It wasn't from the cold. It was rage. For 3 years, he had led this class, shielded this class, and now, on the eve of the college entrance exams, his own class monitor had stabbed him in the back with this colossal mess. Enough, he finally roared, his voice rasping like sandpaper. What's the point of all this shouting? Right now, this instant, everyone get on your phones and check if there are any hotels nearby. No one moved. About 5 or 6 seconds later, Lu Ziki held up her phone, her voice muffled. All rooms within a 5 kilometers radius are fully booked. 7 kilometers. No vacancies. 10 kilometers. Everything's booked. Mr. Liu, there's not a single room left near the exam site. The Gaokao is tomorrow. It's not just our school looking for a place. Silence descended upon the lobby once more, a silence deeper than anger. It was despair. Su Tian huddled in the corner of the front desk, her shoulders jerking with each sob, her cries soft and broken, like a broken door hinge turning over and over. No one went over to comfort her. No one looked at her anymore. Everyone was scrolling through their phones, making calls, and asking each other if they had any relatives or friends nearby who could offer a place to stay for the night. Except for me. I unscrewed the lid of my thermos and took a sip of water. Then Lin saw someone called my name, and it was Liziki. She had somehow emerged from the crowd and now stood about 3 steps away from me. I thought she had come to apologize, too, but her expression didn't quite match that. She tilted her head, her eyes scanning me up and down, lips slightly pursed, as if she were turning something over in her mind. Isn't it true you're pretty capable? She said, her tone a complete contrast to the one she'd used earlier. When urging me to let it go, there was now an unmistakable bitter edge to her words. Isn't your family well off? Aren't your parents well connected? Why don't you just give them a call? I looked at her, saying nothing. Have your parents call around and see if there's any hotel nearby with a room available. She pushed her phone toward me. The screen lit up with a string of missed calls and dropped lines. We're out of options. But you're different, right? Your family's so rich. You must have some way to fix this. As soon as these words were spoken, several people nearby who had been scrolling through their phones also stopped. Joey and Lin looked up at me, her lips parting slightly as if hesitating to agree. Chunming tugged at Liziki's sleeve, whispering, "Don't be like this." But Liziki ignored her and pulled her sleeve back. "What's wrong with what I said?" Liziki's voice rose another notch. "This is a big deal for the whole class. Everyone's in the same boat. Lin Xiao, if you have the ability, making a phone call isn't that hard for you." She still had that tone, like she wasn't asking for a favor, but giving me an out, as if calling her was the obvious thing to do, and not doing it would make me petty and unkind to our friendship. I suddenly remember that time in my sophomore year. The school organized a book drive for impoverished mountain regions, requiring each student to donate at least 3 books. I brought in a complete set of hardcover encyclopedias, packed in a box, and carried into the classroom. As Lu Ziji passed by my desk, she glanced at the box and remarked to the person next to her, "Even donating books has to be a show," as if she's afraid people won't know she's rich. That set of books was later praised by our homeroom teacher. She spent the entire class meeting rolling her eyes. Now she's asking me to make the call. Ziki, Joy, and gently tugged at her arm. "Stop talking. It's pointless to say this now." "What do you mean? Pointless?" Lu Ziji shook off her hand, her tone growing sharper. "I'm trying to come up with a solution here." "Okay. Doesn't she have the means? If she has the means, why not use them? We're all trapped here. Is she just going to run off on her own?" Lisha took a step forward, but I pulled her back. I looked at Lu Ziji for about 3 seconds. My stare made her uneasy. She lifted her chin slightly, as if to steel herself. "I'm not making that call," I said. "Why?" "Because my parents don't have business dealings with the hotel. They can't just conjure up 39 rooms with a phone call. Your understanding of what it means to be rich might be a bit out of touch with reality." Lu Ziji's face froze for half a second. I didn't say anything more to her. I screwed the lid back on my thermos, stuffed it into the side pocket of my backpack, bent down, and picked up the travel bag at my feet. "I'm off," I said to Lisha. Lisha paused for a moment, but didn't ask anything. She quickly grabbed her luggage and followed me. Our footsteps echoed sharply on the marble floor, growing faster as we headed toward the hotel entrance. Lin saw. Someone called from behind. "It's Xiaopeng. Where are you going?" I didn't answer, and kept walking. "Did you book a hotel somewhere else?" Lu Ziki's voice chased after me, sharp with an "I knew it" tone. "Did you have a backup plan all along?" I stopped in my tracks. "Not because I'm guilty. Because it's funny." I turned around, met her, gaze in the middle of the lobby, the look of "I've got you," and shook the phone in my hand. "No, I can't predict the future. How could I have booked a hotel in advance?" "Where are you going then?" "Go home." "Going home?" Xiaopeng frowned. "Isn't your place in the new district? It takes an hour on the subway. How are you going to make it here during tomorrow's rush hour?" "Who said I was going back to my place in the new district?" I shifted my backpack to the other shoulder, fished out my keychain from my pocket, and jingled it with a soft clatter. A plain house key attached to it is a small wooden pendant, worn with age, its edges glowing with a soft, polished sheen. "What do you mean?" Xiaopeng stared at the key. "There's a house of mine nearby. A small apartment, a 10-minute walk from the exam site." I tucked the key into my palm, my tone light. I wasn't planning to stay there. I thought I'd stay at a hotel with everyone else, as a way to remember our 3 years of high school. I glanced at the lobby. I saw Su Tian in the corner by the front desk, still sobbing. I saw the class flag in Xiaopeng's hand, its head bent from being thrown. I saw the lingering bitterness and shock on Lu Ziki's face. "But we don't need to anymore." 9. Wait. The moment I pushed open the hotel's glass door, several voices broke out behind me at once. Not just one person shouting, but a chorus of voices overlapping, as if they had finally to attention, rushing toward the entrance in a flurry of urgency. Lin Xiao, wait up. You have a place around here. An apartment. You mean, why didn't you say so earlier? If you told us, we wouldn't have been arguing all this time." Joey Ian was the one who said this last part. My hand, resting on the glass door, froze for a moment. Lu Xia was right beside me. Her suitcase was already over the threshold. She glanced back at Joey Ian, then at me, her mouth turning down at the corners. She didn't say a word. Joey and jogged a couple of steps over. Her expression was completely different now. While listening to the recording, she'd been furious, confronting Su Tian. She was all righteous indignation. But facing me, she'd put on this warm, chummy smile as if nothing unpleasant had ever happened between us. "Sasa," her tone turned breezy, laced with a presumptuous familiarity. "How big is your apartment anyway? How many people can it fit? Look at all of us. We can't possibly camp out in the lobby all night. We can't just sit here until morning. Not with exams tomorrow. Yeah, exactly. Shinning piped up, poking her head out from the crowd and clasping her hands together in a pleading gesture. Sasaja, please have a heart. We're really in a bind tonight. Your place is close. We'll sleep on the floor or the couch. Anything. We promise we won't make a mess. Songja hesitated for a moment, biting her lip before adding, Lansa, I was wrong not to back you up in the lobby earlier. Really? I'm sorry, but 10 minutes. Then my mom walked in, sat on the edge of my bed, and asked what was wrong. I mentioned to my classmates in the group that we're booking college entrance exam rooms, but I don't want to stay in a group discount hotel. I prefer to book a quieter, private room by myself. Someone said I was being special. My mom fell silent for a moment, neither comforting me nor commenting on those people. She simply stood up, walked over to the desk, pulled open the drawer, rummaged through it, then turned, and came back, placing a set of keys in the palm of my hand. A door key hanging from it was a small wooden charm, a Mother's Day gift I made for her in elementary school art class. All these years, she had kept it. I bought a small apartment near there a few years back, originally meant to rent it out, but never got around to it. I had it cleaned a couple of days ago. Fresh sheets, new bedding, and I stocked the fridge. You should stay there. It'll be more comfortable than a hotel. I clutched the key, the warmth from the wood slowly seeping into my palm. Mom, what made you think of buying a place in that area all of a sudden? Remember how you always complained about the noisy dorm during lunch breaks in 9th grade? I got this for you to rest in, but after you moved up to the high school here, it's just been sitting empty ever since. I slipped the key into a hidden compartment of my backpack, not planning to use it. I figured, since this was our last time living together, I shouldn't make a fuss or stand out. Let them say what they want. After all, we'd all be going our separate ways after the exam. But now, standing outside the hotel's glass doors, watching these people close in, I suddenly realized my mom was right. This place feels more comfortable than a hotel. I gathered my thoughts, Joey, and kept talking. She probably thought my silence meant I was considering, so she grew more enthusiastic. Sister Saw, look, we girls don't take up much space. We can sleep on the floor or even on the sofa. We won't bother you at all. Joey, and I cut her off. She stopped and looked at me expectantly. Like I said, I spun the key around my finger, the metal clinking with a crisp sound. I'm not comfortable with people who aren't friends staying at my place. Her warm smile froze on her face. Shinmei slowly lowered her clasped hands. Songja bit her lip and looked down, standing at the back of the group. Lee Si-kyung crossed her arms. A trace of that sourness she hadn't managed to wipe away still lingered at the corner of her mouth. But her eyes had changed as if she hadn't expected me to actually refuse. It's not safe, I said, looking at her, then glancing at Juan, and Songja with a smile. And I wouldn't feel at ease. Russell! Juan still had more to say. I raised my hand and threw her exact words from the lobby right back at her. Don't let me hold you up. And don't let yourselves hold me up, either. The glass door closed slowly behind me. The night wind hit my face, hot and heavy, carrying the scent of June's asphalt and the aroma of Odin from the convenience store across the street. The shadows of the plane trees swayed back and forth on the sidewalk while the street light filtered through the leaves, casting dappled patterns on the shoulders of both Lee Si-kyung and me. Sis, Lee Si-kyung said, catching up to me with her suitcase in tow. We'd walked half a block before she finally spoke, her voice tight with suppressed laughter. Did you see the look on Juan's face at the end? Got it. Brilliant. Not bad. She took a couple more steps, then couldn't help but laugh. What do you mean not bad? You just threw her own words back at her, left her speechless. This is what you call not bad? So, you want to stay at my place? I got straight to the point. Of course. I'm sticking with you. 10. As the final bell rang to end the last school exam, I put the finishing period on my English essay. I put down my pen, neatly arranged the exam paper, and answer sheet in order, and looked about the window. The June sun was already sinking in the west, its light passing through the frosted glass of the examination hall window, and softening into a hazy, golden glow. The air conditioner hummed steadily in the classroom, and as a boy in the back row turned in his exam, he kicked the leg of his desk, its metallic clang ringing sharply in the quiet exam hall. The invigilator collected the papers, counted them, and nodded. "You may leave now." The hallway erupted into chaos. Someone was screaming. Someone else was sprinting madly down the corridor. A pencil case was tossed toward the ceiling and caught. Friends hugged each other, jumping up and down. The weight of 3 years lifted in that single second, dissolving into a thunder of cheers and pounding footsteps that filled the entire floor. I walked out of the exam hall carrying my clear pencil case and waited for Alicia at the stairwell. She came down about 5 minutes late, rushed over as soon as she saw me, grabbed my arm. Her whole face lit up. "Sasha." For the third English reading passage was the answer C. I almost changed it. "It's C." I knew it. She jumped on the spot, then grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the stairs. Come on. I need to get those fried skewers from the stall by the school gate. I've been craving them for 3 whole days. If I don't get some now, I'm going to lose it." She dragged me across the sports field, past the track we'd run on every morning for 3 years, past the flagpole for the raising ceremony, and the faded red lane markers. The school gate was packed with parents waiting for their kids. Some were holding up phones to record the scene. Others were waving, and a few were calling out names. A mother in a red dress, clutching a bouquet of flowers, rushed forward and hugged her daughter. Both of them were crying. "Licha." And I squeezed sideways through the crowd, making a beeline for the fried skewers stall we'd been craving all along. A line of 7 or 8 people had already formed in front of the stall, all students fresh out of their exams. The skewers sizzled in the bubbling oil. The owner, a woman, was so busy she couldn't look up, flipping the skewers while calling out, "Mild or medium? Cumin? Pay by scan or cash?" Licha tiptoed to peer inside, muttering the order under her breath. 2 chicken cutlets, 3 fish tofu, squid tentacles, and some lotus root slices. Are you really going to finish all that?" I leaned against the nearby lamp post, tucking my pencil case into the side pocket of my backpack. "The gaokao's over. Time to celebrate, and that means eating more." "Of course," she said, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Then she turned to look at me, and suddenly asked, "Sister Sa, what do you think is going on with Su Tian? I saw her at the exam hall entrance this morning. Her eyes were all puffy, like walnuts. She probably didn't sleep a wink last night." "I don't know," I said, "and I don't want to know." "Well said." She turned back to the menu. "Let's add some rice cakes later." The heat from the oil wok, mingled with the scent of cumin and chili powder, washed over us. The plane trees lining the street cast their shadows onto the sidewalk. When the wind blew, a leaf landed on the awning of the skewer stall with a faint rustling whisper. Leaning against the utility pole, I closed my eyes and mentally reviewed the 4 exams I just finished, going through each one from start to finish. Only after confirming there were no major mistakes did I slowly exhale in relief. When it was finally our turn, Licia was already salivating. The shop owner fished out the fried skewers, brushed on the sauce, sprinkled cumin and chili powder, then wrapped them in grease paper and handed them over. I took mine and had just bitten into the chicken cutlet when my phone rang from inside my backpack. The screen showed a number I hadn't saved. I hesitated for a moment, then answered. "Is this Lin Sa?" came a middle-aged man's voice on the other end, formal and slightly impatient. "I'm the academic affairs director at the school. Surname Fong. Are you available to come back to the school? Please come to the principal's office right now." "Yes, right now. There's something we need you to come in and help us clarify." "What is it?" He paused, as if weighing his words, and finally just said, "You'll find out when you get here." The call dropped. Licia held up a skewer of fish tofu, noticed my expression was off, and mumbled, "Who is it? What's wrong?" "Dean of Academic Affairs. I need to go back to the school for a bit." "No, didn't we just finish the exam? What's so urgent?" I wrapped the fried chicken cutlet back in its greasy paper, put it in the bag, wiped my fingers, and slung my backpack over my shoulder. "I don't know," I said, "but it doesn't sound good. I'll go with you." "No need. Go wait for me at my place. Here's the key. There's food in the fridge. I handed her the key. As she took it, she frowned and looked intently into my eyes. Call me if anything comes up. I'll be there anytime. Don't worry, I said, patting her shoulder. I'll go check things out first. It might just be a formality. I'll probably be back before you know it. Then I turned and headed toward the school. I took a few steps, then stopped, scrolled through my phone's contacts, found a number, and dialed it. It rang twice, and then I answered. Lawyer Wang. Sorry to bother you. It's Lin Sa. I might need your help with something. The academic affairs director just called me and asked me to go to the principal's office. She didn't say what it was about, but I have a pretty good idea. Would it be possible for you to come to the school in about half an hour? If it turns out I don't need you, I'll let you know. After hanging up, I kept the phone in my hand and walked along the shaded path by the school wall toward the main gate, mentally running through every possible scenario. As I went, Su Tian isn't the type to just let last night's failure slide. Someone like her never admits defeat. She'll just find a way to shift the blame. I just don't know what she's planning to do this time. The principal's office is located on the top floor of the academic building. The hallway is lined with dark carpet, and the walls are adorned with photographs of distinguished alumni and calligraphy plaques bearing mottos such as "Virtue carries all things." As I reached the door, I noticed it was slightly ajar. Inside, a chaotic mix of sounds came through. Sharp female voices, a man's low soothing tones, and intermittent sobs. I'm very familiar with that crying sound. I pushed the door open 11. The moment the door opened, all sound in the room ceased. The principal's office was spacious. Behind a large desk sat a middle-aged man with graying hair, wearing gold-rimmed glasses, his expression grim. The academic affairs office director, Mr. Fong, sat on a nearby sofa, holding an unlit cigarette. Across from the sofa, 3 people sat on chairs, a middle-aged couple, and, between them, a girl named Su Tian. Su Tian's mother was the first to rise. She wore a silk blouse with a floral print, her hair set in delicate, precise curls, but the expression on her face was completely at odds with her elegant attire. Her finger, pointed accusingly at me, was painted a dusty rose, the nails tipped nearly grazing my face. That's her. Her voice was shrill and piercing. Headmaster, it's Lin. So, to get back at my daughter, she actually stole her phone and canceled the booking for the entire class. A student with such poor character must be expelled. I stood at the doorway, motionless. Su Tian's mother kept going, her spittle glistening in the sunlight. Do you have any idea what it means for 39 children to have nowhere to sleep the night before? Do you realize several of them only got 3 or 4 hours of sleep before taking that exam? You've ruined 3 years of their lives. You've ruined their entire futures. Director Fong coughs softly beside her. Emerese. Su, please calm down. We're still in the process of gathering information. What's there to understand? Is there even a need for understanding? She turned to Su Tian, who was shrinking in her chair. Tian, you tell them yourself. Repeat what you said to me at home, right here in front of the principal. Su Tian sat on the chair, head bowed, shoulders trembling with sobs. When she lifted her face, tear tracks streaked from the corners of her eyes down to her chin. Her eyes red and swollen, looking utterly heartbroken. Lin saw. Her voice was hoarse, thick with a nasal tone. I know you hate me for taking the top spot from you in last semester's mock exam. But you can't gamble with the entire class's future like this. She choked back a sob, wiping the corner of her eye with a finger before continuing. The night before the science exam, so many classmates were stuck in the lobby until 3 a.m. before they could find a place to stay. This morning outside the exam hall, I saw Jo-een leaning against the wall, her face completely pale. I asked her what was wrong, and she said she'd only slept for 3 hours and felt dizzy and foggy-headed. Her voice grew fainter, dissolving into a broken, tearful whisper. Take your revenge on me if you must. But why did you have to make everyone else suffer along with me? Fine. I gave it a silent round of applause. The writing is solid, not a hysterical rant, but a detailed, vivid, and progressively unfolding narrative. There's motive. There are consequences. There's a tangible victim. And then that final line. You can get back at me if you want, which sounds forgiving, but is actually a heart-wrenching blow. If I weren't involved, I almost believed it. Director Fong. I turned to the Dean of Academic Affairs. You called me here just for this? Director Fong shifted the unlit cigarette from his left hand to his right, his expression uneasy. Lin saw. This matter has gotten pretty serious. We've heard about what happened at the hotel yesterday. As one of the parties involved, we need you to cooperate and clarify the situation. Make what clear? That I stole Su Tian's phone and framed her for canceling the whole class's rooms. Absolutely certain. Su Tian's mother stood up again. What else could it be but stealing? That order could only be processed with Tian's phone. If you didn't steal her phone to cancel it, we're all 39 people in the lobby collectively sleepwalking through the refund. That's when Su Tian spoke up. Her sobs had ceased at some point, and though her voice remained soft, its pitch had noticeably lifted, carrying the confidence of someone who had just found their trump card. It just came back to me, she said, raising her red-rimmed eyes to meet mine. The tear tracks at the corners were still damp, but her gaze no longer wavered. Yesterday evening, we were all studying in the classroom. I stepped out for a bit in the middle, maybe 30 minutes or so. My phone was just sitting in my desk drawer. She turned to Director Fong, her tone resolute. Mr. Fong, I was out of the classroom between 6:30 and 7 o'clock. Lin Saw sits just 2 rows behind me. She had the perfect opportunity to take my phone and process the refund while I was gone. My phone didn't have a lock screen password at the time. Anyone could have used it. Upon hearing this, Su Tian's mother spun around as if she'd grabbed a lifeline, her voice climbing another octave. You hear that? The timing lines up perfectly. The refund was processed at 6:42, and Tiantin was away from her seat between 6:30 and 7 o'clock with her phone right there in the drawer. This is clearly Lin Susu seizing the opportunity. The atmosphere shifted instantly. Su Tian's mother's demeanor grew visibly more aggressive, morphing from pure emotional outburst into a pointed confrontational interrogation. Is there surveillance in your classroom? No, right. Then we have to rely on witnesses. Director Fan. Who else could it possibly be? Tiantin wouldn't have canceled her own room reservation just to leave herself with nowhere to stay for the night. Would she? Exactly. Su Tian is niflid. Her red-rimmed eyes fixed on me as that pitiful, tearful tremor returned to her voice. Lin Susu, why would you do this to me? If you had any problem with me, you could have just told me to my face. Why did you have to steal my phone and do something like this? Director Fan's expression softened a little. He probably thought the timeline did check out. Lin Susu. He turned to me, his tone sharper than before. You say it wasn't you. Do you have any proof, or can anyone vouch for what you were doing during that time? Lu Tron took a step out from beside the bookshelf and stood next to Su Tian, a silent statement in itself. I looked at Su Tian. I saw the flicker of light in her eyes. When she said, "The phone is in the drawer," she hadn't made it up on the spot. She had already thought through this angle before coming to the principal's office. She knew the refund process required her phone. So, by bringing up the fact that her phone had been out of her sight, she could shift the suspicion onto me. Between 6:30 and 7 o'clock, I was definitely in the classroom. Su Tian did go out. Her phone could have been in the drawer. This is a logically interlocking circle. Every action leaves a trace as for what I didn't do. Let's see who can prove otherwise. On the contrary, I don't believe we won't find any traces of what Su Tian did. The devil is in the details, and she doesn't seem particularly experienced. Otherwise, she would have been completely exposed the other night. Director Fan. I turned my head, my tone calm. The matter between Su Tian and me probably can't be resolved within the eye. Suggest we involve the police. Call the police. Director Fong paused, taken aback. Right. Defamation plus spreading rumors that impacted someone's college entrance exam. That should be enough to file a case. I pulled out my phone, pressed 3 digits, and showed him the screen. If you're not comfortable calling, I'll do it. Su Tian's sobbing halted for a moment, but this time she didn't panic. She even gave a faint smile, quickly suppressed, as if she had anticipated my reaction all along. Go ahead and call, she said, her voice still soft. When the police get here, they'll just uncover the truth anyway. Luchuan. standing to the side, furrowed his brow. After a moment's hesitation, he stepped forward, shielding Sutian. Lansa, is this really necessary? Calling the police. Can we handle this between classmates? Within the school. A matter between classmates. I repeated his phrasing and nodded. Luchuan, you were standing right next to her the whole time. Are you here to be a witness? I'm just stating the facts, he said with a stern face. Sutian was indeed not at her seat during that time. Many people saw it. If you want to prove your innocence, then find the evidence. Fine. I put my phone away and looked at the principal. Principal, since both sides are sticking to their own stories, let's follow procedure. Call the police. The principal was silent for a few seconds. His gaze, from behind his gold-rimmed glasses, shifted from my face to Sutian's, and then back again. Then he slowly nodded. Director Fong, notify the local police station. 12. The police station is 2 blocks east of the school. A gray-white 3-story building. Lawyer Wong had arrived before me and was already waiting in the lobby. She wore a navy blue blazer, her hair tied in a low ponytail, and carried a black briefcase. Her expression was calm, and she gave a slight nod as I entered. I've already taken care of it, she said quietly. I'll walk you through the statement process. Just tell the truth. Leave the rest to me. Thank you. Attorney Wong. Sutian and her group had arrived as well. As her mother helped her into the room, she visibly paused upon seeing lawyer. Wong then lifted her chin slightly as if to say, so what if you've hired a lawyer? We're in the right. Sutian's eyes were still red, but she wasn't crying much anymore. Her lips were pressed tightly together, and her face wore a strained calm as if she were forcing herself to stay composed. In the mediation room sat 3 police officers in uniform. One older officer seated in the center with a notebook open in front of him. After both parties took their seats, Sutian's mother spoke first. She spoke rapidly, recounting the whole story from start to finish. How Sutian was in charge of booking the rooms. How she discovered the reservations had been cancelled. How the entire class ended up stranded on the street. And how her daughter was berated by her classmates all night long. Officer, she finally raised her voice. The hotel said the refund was processed through a phone. Tian's phone was indeed away from her between 6:30 and 7 o'clock that evening. She went to the restroom and left her phone in the classroom drawer. And during that exact time, Lin Saw was in the classroom. The middle-aged officer turned to Sutian, his tone calm, but probing. Sutian, are you sure your phone wasn't locked and was left in the drawer during that time? Something anyone could have accessed. I'm sure. Sutian nodded, her voice soft, but her words enunciated clearly. Everyone in our class can vouch for me. I really did step out for a while. Jiao Peng saw me, and Zhou did too. I never bother setting a password on my phone. It's just too much hassle. As soon as she finished speaking, Jiao Peng and Zhou Yan, who were waiting by the door to give their statements, exchanged a glance. Jiao Peng scratched the back of his head and nodded hesitantly. Sutian to go out. I don't remember for how long exactly. Maybe 20-something minutes. Zhou Yan gave a quiet, aha in agreement. But her expression was awkward. She avoided looking at Sutian, and she didn't look at me either. Sutian's mother grew even more emboldened, her voice taking on a triumphant, insistent edge. Officer, just listen. The timing matches, the location matches, and the opportunity was there. What more is there to say? Sutian sat up straighter in her chair. She turned to look at me for a brief moment, and though the glance was fleeting, I saw clearly what was in her eyes. She felt she was going to win. The middle-aged officer didn't respond to her mother. He pulled 2 pages from a nearby folder and placed them on the table. This afternoon, after receiving the report, we immediately contacted the hotel. They provided the call recording from yesterday evening and the order system's operation logs. He picked up a page of paper. This recording was played publicly in the hotel lobby last night. Students and teachers present all heard it. Sutian confirmed on the call that she personally completed the refund operation on her phone. Sutian's expression didn't change. She had known about the existence of this recording all along and had already prepared her explanation. That recording only proves I made the call, she said softly. But it doesn't prove I was the one who processed the refund. When I was operating the refund on my phone, Lynn saw might have already stolen it and completed the transaction. I only discovered the refund record later and called to confirm. She spoke with practiced fluency, as if she had rehearsed it in her mind countless times. Every crucial point was backed by a witness. Every piece of evidence had an alternative explanation. The middle-aged officer glanced at her, but said nothing. He pulled another sheet from the folder. This time, it was a printout of technical data. Here is the operation log retrieved from the hotel system. It shows the refund was processed at exactly 6:42 and 17 seconds p.m. yesterday. He placed this piece of paper on the table. As well, Soo-Tian, you said Lynn saw you used your phone to process the refund. But the technical record showed the device used for this refund was not your phone. Soo-Tian was taken aback. What? The device serial number for the refund operation corresponds to the watch site application. It's a smartwatch. The air in the mediation room suddenly felt thin. Soo-Tian's left hand twitched. The movement was slight. It wasn't a lifting, nor a drawing back. It was just a faint inward curl of the fingers, as if to grasp something, then abruptly held in check. She wore a pink smartwatch on her left wrist with a silicone band and a small cartoon sticker attached. She loved the watch and had shown it off in class several times, saying it could run all kinds of apps and was more convenient than a phone. But at that moment her left hand was moving behind her back at an awkward angle. Her wrist turned slightly, fingers spreading as if trying to discreetly cover the watch face. Oh, so this is what she didn't anticipate. She thought she was being clever, but didn't expect the return device to be scrutinized so thoroughly. Student Soo-Tian, the middle-aged officer's voice remained calm, but carried an unmistakable tone of authority. Please remove the watch from your left wrist. We need to verify the device's serial number. Soo-Tian didn't move. Classmate Soo-Tian, my watch has been broken for ages. It can't connect to the internet. Her voice finally cracked. The force comes seeping out through the fissure. It couldn't have done it. You've got it wrong. Then you have even less to worry about, the middle-aged officer said, his gaze not wavering an inch from her. Take it off. Let's verify it. If it doesn't match, it'll clear your name. Soo-Tian's right hand clamped around her left wrist. She wasn't trying to remove the watch. She was covering the entire face of it, her fingers pressed against the dial, her nails turning white from the pressure, and her voice began to tremble. I told you it's not this watch. What right do you have to make me take it off? This is my personal property. Her mother turned to look at her, her expression shifting to confusion and a dawning fear. Tian, why don't you just take it off and show the police? Soo-Tian didn't speak. Her right hand pressed down on her left wrist with a death grip, like a small animal backed into a corner using its last ounce of strength to protect its most vital spot. The middle-aged police officer gave a slight nod to a female officer beside him. The female officer walked over, her pace unhurried, but each step firm. She stopped before Soo-Tian, bent slightly at the waist, and spoke in a tone so gentle it seemed to settle the very air in the room. Give me your hand. Please. Soo-Tian shook her head. She began to shrink back into her chair, her right hand gripping her left wrist so tightly her knuckles turned white. Her lips trembled as she forced out the words. I won't. You can't do this. The female officer said nothing more. She reached out and took a firm hold of Soo-Tian's right wrist. The grip wasn't harsh, but it was unyielding enough to prevent any struggle. Soo-Tian struggled slightly, and the pink watch face on her left wrist slipped out from between her loosened fingers. The female officer, with her other hand, deftly unfastened the clasp and gave it a gentle push. The watch slid into her palm. The entire process took less than 10 seconds. Soo-Tian watched the watch slip from her wrist, the color draining from her face. The female officer handed the watch to the middle-aged officer. He flipped it over, glanced at the serial number on the back, then looked down to compare the number with the one on the data sheet. The mediation room was so quiet that only the ticking of the wall clock remained. Device serial number matches exactly. The middle-aged officer placed the data sheet back on the table, his voice calm and measured. The refund operation time, the device used, and the search history, all three align. Miss Soo-Tian, This smartwatch has a browser search record just before the refund was processed. How to remove one person from a group order and prevent them from receiving notifications. He finished speaking, then looked up at Su Tian, his gaze calm and sharp. These operations. Surely, Lin, Su didn't crawl onto your watch to help you with them, did she? Su Tian's mother whipped her head around, her eyes fixed on her daughter. Her mouth hung open, her makeup still perfectly in place, but the very structure of her face seemed to collapse. Her lips trembled several times before she managed to force out the words. Tian, say something. Su Tian remained silent. Her left wrist was now bare, the watch strap gone, revealing a pale band of skin where the sun hadn't touched. Her hand was still clenched in a fist, fingers curled tightly into her palm, as if still grasping for that was no longer there. Her gaze fell upon the pink watch on the table. She stared at it for a moment, then slowly lifted her eyes to meet mine. It wasn't hatred, it wasn't anger. It was a raw, naked vulnerability stripped of all pretense. It was me. Her voice rasped out, from deep in her throat, raw and broken. So what? Her mother staggered backward, the bag slipping from her hand and spilling its contents across the floor. She made no move to pick anything up. She just stared at her daughter as if seeing her face clearly for the very first time. Su Tian didn't even look at her. She looked at me. Her voice grew louder and sharper, like a flood that had been dammed for 3 years, finally bursting its banks. I hate her. I really hate her. How come she wins awards in every competition, effortlessly scooping up all the honors? Why does her family have to be so well off? And what about me? I fight for the top spot in our grade on just 4 hours of sleep at night, and yet everyone still only sees her. She rose to her feet, pushing her chair back with a scrape that sent a sharp screech across the tile floor. Do you even know how every teacher mentions your name when reading out grades? Do you know how my mom always says that Lin Sai is first again, the moment she gets home from every parent-teacher meeting? Do you know how every time I see you laughing and chatting in the hallway, I want to tear you apart? Tian, her mother finally screamed, her voice cracking, tears streaming down her cheeks. Su Tian seemed not to have heard. Tears streamed down her face, but her mouth was twisted as if she couldn't tell whether she was crying or laughing. Do you really think I like Lu Chuan? Do you actually believe I'd go for trash you didn't want? She let out a sharp, short laugh, the sound bouncing off the 4 white walls, sending a chill down the spine. I just wanted to take him from you. Because, when he was chasing after you, he never even looked at me. Now that he's chasing me, you're feeling uneasy, aren't you? I just want to see you suffer. See you fail your college entrance exam. See you fall from that high pedestal you've been perched on. Her voice suddenly caught in her throat, not because her emotions had run out, but because they were too much, overwhelming her. She opened her mouth, but the last word never came out. Instead, she fixed me with those eyes, always just the right shade of red, staring at me intently. But how is that fair? Even when there are no rooms left, you still manage to find a place to stay. You get everything without having to give anything in return. The mediation room remained silent for a long time. The senior officer closed his notebook and said quietly, "The specific determination of liability and legal consequences will be communicated to you in writing at a later time." I stood up. The chair legs scraped softly against the tile floor. Attorney Wong rose as well, tucked his notebook into his briefcase, and gave me a nod. Lin Sa. It was Su Tian's voice. I turned back from the doorway of the mediation room to look at her. She stood by the table, one hand resting on its edge, the other hanging at her side. Her empty left wrist looked especially slender and pale under the light. Are you feeling pretty pleased with yourself? I looked at her for 2 seconds. I just feel like it's a waste. What's the waste? 3 years. I looked away from her face, my voice barely a whisper. You spent 3 whole years hating me. In the end, you didn't destroy me. You destroyed yourself. I pushed open the door to the mediation room. The hallway lights were stark and bright, shining on pale gray floor tiles. My leather shoes clicked against them with a sharp, echoing sound. The door slowly closed behind me. From inside the mediation room, Su Tian's mother's sobbing started up again. But Su Tian herself said nothing more. By the time I stepped out of the police station gate, the sky was beginning to darken. The evening glow spread from the horizon, gilding the leaves of the plane tree by the entrance of burnished gold red. The drone of cicadas drifted down from the branches, one steady pulse after another, unhurried and unceasing. Attorney Wang paused at the foot of the steps and looked back at me. Lin Sa, are you all right? I'm okay. In the coming days, if there's anything else that needs handling, please don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you, Attorney Wang. I appreciate all your help today. She gave a slight nod and walked toward the car parked by the roadside. Its tail lights flickered on, and it gradually merged into the evening rush hour traffic. I stood on the steps outside the police station, glancing down at my phone. Li Chao had sent over a dozen messages, just emojis and question marks. I replied with all good, I'm coming back soon, then shoved the phone into my backpack. The roadside skewer stall was still open. The owner stood behind the bubbling oil, fanning herself as the scent of cumin and chili powder drifted through the air. I stood in front of the stall for a few seconds, bought 3 skewers of fish cake, added extra chili, and leaned against the plane tree, slowly finishing them. Then I went to find Li Chao. 13th, the day the results came out, was a beautiful, sunny day. I woke up naturally, and my phone was already lagging from being bombarded with all sorts of messages. In the class group chat, people were posting screenshots of their scores, congratulating each other. Some were crying, and others were sending out red packets. I opened the score-checking page, entered my exam registration number, an ID card number. The page spun for a few seconds before a line of numbers popped up. It was over 10 points higher than I had estimated. My ranking placed me in the top 10 in the province, more than enough to get into the university I had my heart set on. My mom came in with a glass of milk, glanced at the screen, smiled without a word, set the cup down on the corner of the desk, then turned and went back out to water her flowers. She's always like that, never shows too much excitement in front of me. But I heard her on the phone with my dad on the balcony. Her voice kept low, yet the rising inflection gave it away. Your daughter, she's got it, Li Chao called, her voice cracking with excitement. Sis, did you see it? I ranked 15th in the grade for science. 15th? I've never ever ranked 15th in my whole damn life. Got it. I'll just send you the screenshot. What about you? How much about you? I read her the score. There was a 3-second silence on the other end of the line. Then a scream erupted, so loud it made me pull the phone away a few centimeters. With your score, you can get into any school. Oh my gosh. Sasa, you absolutely have to treat us. Go ahead, I said. Order whatever you'd like. You said it. I want hot pot. Remember that place we passed last time? The one with the giant panda statue outside? All right. Today. We'd arranged to meet at 5:30. I tidied up a bit, changed into a clean t-shirt, slung my bag over my shoulder, and headed out. My mom was in the living room watching a show. Without looking up, she said, "Don't be back too late." I grunted a reply and closed the door behind me. The hallway was quiet, and I was alone in the elevator. Reaching the ground floor, I pushed open the building's main door. The afternoon sun had lost its bite, slanting in from the west, and bathing the plane tree leaves in the compound with a translucent, golden light. Outside the compound was a not-too-wide road lined with plane trees whose canopies formed a continuous shade. At this hour, it was quiet, just a woman walking her dog in the distance, and a few kids riding their bikes. I looked down and sent a voice message to Li Chao. Headed out now. Should be there in about 20 minutes. Then I looked up. I saw him standing under the plane tree. Lu Chuan. He stood at the edge of shadow and sunlight, wearing a white t-shirt with the collar slightly askew, his hair uncombed, a few strands of fringe sticking to his eyebrows. His face was pale, not just from lack of sleep, but a dull, lifeless gray that seemed to seep from within. He clutched something tightly in his hand, his knuckles turning white from the grip. We locked eyes for a second across about 10 m. Then he started walking toward me. He moved so quickly that I instinctively took half a step back. But he stopped abruptly, just 2 steps away from me, then did something I never saw coming. He knelt down, The knee slammed straight into the pavement tile, bone meeting hard surface with a dull thud that cut sharply through the quiet shade of the plane trees. Lin Suo. His voice was hoarse, as if he had been shouting for a long time. Please. I looked down at him without a word. His eyes were already red, not the kind of red that comes and goes like Sution's, but a real, bloodshot red with dry edges around the eye sockets, as if it hadn't slept in 2 days. He knelt on the ground, looking up at me, his Adam's apple bobbing several times as if he were desperately trying to gather his words. I know I was wrong. His voice was halting, each word seeming to be wrenched from his throat. My exam results. I didn't even make the cut. Offer the top-tier universities. My dad says he's washing his hands of me. Told me to repeat the year. My mom hasn't stopped crying. I haven't slept since last night. Just lying there thinking about how you. And I ended up like this over the past 3 years. He raised a hand, swiped it across his face, and it came away wet. Then he lifted it again, and slapped himself hard across the face. Not a theatrical, glancing blow, but a full-arm swing that connected with real force. The crack of the slap echoed in the quiet street. An old woman, walking her dog in the distance, glanced back, and the dog barked a couple of times. A red patch bloomed instantly on his left cheek, the imprint of his fingers rising starkly on his skin. I was really wrong. When I spoke up for Su Tian in the principal's office, I thought I was upholding justice. Back then, I thought you were too domineering, never willing to back down. And Su Tian seemed so fragile. I thought helping her made me the righteous one. He hit himself again, this time on the right cheek, the sound even sharper. I was an idiot. Lin saw. He shuffled forward on his knees half a step, his hand lifting as if to reach for mine, but it hung in the air, never quite touching. Can't we start over? You used to like me so much. Just give me a chance. I'll go to your city, wherever you go to university. I'll find work there. I'll retake the exams for a year, and get into a school near yours. Lu Chuan. I cut him off. He stopped, his face tilted up towards me. A faint trace of hope still lingered in his eyes, like a drowning man waiting for a piece of driftwood that had long since floated away. I looked at his face, at the red marks on his cheeks, at his tear-swollen eyes. Strangely, I didn't even feel anger anymore. If he had said those words the night before the college entrance exam, maybe I would have argued with him. If he had said them into the office, maybe I would have felt a sense of relief. But now, as he kneels here slapping himself, all I feel is emptiness. You don't even know where you're failing, do you? All of this is just a means to an end for you. His expression froze. You said you helped Su Tian because she was weak, and that you were doing what was right. But Lu Chuan, when you shared my personal information with Su Tian in the classroom group chat, so she could book a room for me, did you even ask me if that was okay? When you blocked me in the lobby and called me a spoiled brat, did you listen to a single word I said? And in the principal's office, when you stood beside Su Tian and accused me of stealing her phone, did you have any proof at all? He opened his mouth to protest, but I didn't give him the chance. You don't listen. You don't look, because you don't want to hear. You don't want to see. You believe what Su Tian says is the truth, because she looks weaker, more like a victim. I look like I have everything, so it's fine if I get a little wronged. You think your sense of justice means standing beside the one who looks more pitiful, and enjoying that feeling of I'm protecting her. His face turned pale. This isn't justice, I said, looking him straight in the eyes, speaking slowly and clearly. This is narcissism. You don't love Su Tian, and you don't love me. You love the version of yourself that stands before others feeling so grand. His lips began to tremble. He knelt there, his knees pressed into the cracks of the pavement, his shadow stretched long and thin by the setting sun, reaching all the way to my feet. Lança. His voice was almost inaudible, like air leaking from a punctured balloon. Back then, I really did like you. You didn't like me either. I lowered my hands from my sides, my voice soft, but each word precise. You liked the version of me you imagined, the wealthy, generous, endlessly forgiving Lin Sa. So, when the real me refused to live up to that fantasy, refused to let Su Tian bully me, your first instinct wasn't to protect me, it was to see me as a problem. His tears fell once more, Have you always been like this? I said. Or did I just not notice before? He did not answer. He knelt on the ground, head bowed, shoulders trembling slightly. The leaves of the plane tree rustled in the wind for a moment, and a few drifted down, landing on the ground before him. Go home. I won't get back together with you. Not now. Not ever. Whether you retake your exams or find a job, it has nothing to do with me. I'm going to the university I've always wanted to attend. It's a big place full of people and experiences you'd never understand, and I don't plan on looking back. After finishing my words, I walked past him and continued along the shade of the plane trees. After taking a few steps, a sound came from behind me, not my name being called, not a cry, but the dull thud of his forehead hitting the sidewalk tiles. I didn't look back. At the corner ahead, the street food vendor had already wheeled out her cart. The oil wasn't hot yet, and she was bent over hanging the price list on the cart's frame. In another 2 hours, the air here would be thick with the scent of cumin and chili powder again. Lucia sent another message, this time with 3 panda emojis. Where are you? I've already ordered the broth. Mild spicy. I got 2 orders of your favorite erda. I typed, my head down. Almost there. Just one more intersection. As I hit send, I quickened my pace a little. Sunlight filtered through the plane tree leaves and fell on my shoulder. I've walked this road for 3 years. I could navigate it with my eyes closed. But today it felt different. 14. The notice from the local police station arrived in early July. Sue Tian's case never made it to court. Her mother pulled several strings and found an intermediary to talk to me. When lawyer Wang relayed the message, his wording was very matter-of-fact. The other party is willing to accept full liability for compensation, including the student's accommodation costs and damages for emotional distress. They request the plaintiff's side to provide a letter of understanding to seek leniency in the legal proceedings. What do you think? She asked. I thought for about 5 seconds. I can sign the letter of understanding, but I won't accept a face-to-face apology. There was a pause on the other end of the line. Then Attorney Wang said, all right, I'll handle it. I later found out that Sue Tian's family sold an old property and used the proceeds to pay a substantial sum in compensation to each of the 39 classmates, for some from less well-off families. That money was just enough to cover their first year of university tuition. I never asked around, so I don't know where she ended up. I only heard a mention in the class group chat that she might have repeated her final year of high school, but that group soon sank to the very bottom of my message list. When Attorney Wang called me for the last time, she told me the final outcome of the whole matter. Although Sue Tian's actions constituted false accusation, considering she had just become an adult, showed remorse, and her family actively provided compensation. The final disposition focused on education. She didn't receive a criminal record, but it was a lesson she'd remember for the rest of her life. What do you think of the outcome? Asked Attorney Wang. It's good, I said. She shouldn't have to pay with her future. But this matter shouldn't just be swept under the rug, either. Well said. Also, Lu Chuan's mother called me yesterday. I paused, holding my phone. Lu Chuan's mother? Yeah, don't know how they got my number. They asked me to tell you that Lu Chuan did really poorly on his exams and is planning to retake a year elsewhere. His mom said, if you have time, could you give him a call and maybe cheer him up a bit? How did you respond? I said, there's nothing for your client to discuss with Mr. Lu Chuan. I recommend he focus on his studies and leave my client undisturbed. I almost burst out laughing. At the end of that sweltering July, I stood on the balcony of my own home, an open suitcase before me. The sun flooded the room with brilliant light, and the floor reflected a gentle, warm glow. I packed the last few folded t-shirts into my suitcase and double-checked my documents. ID card, admission letter, youth league membership card, a copy of my household registration, and a 1-inch photo. The acceptance letter bore the university's name. The campus was said to be vast, featuring 2 lakes, a very old library, and the built laboratory building. I'm enrolled in the School of Physics, and as a freshman, I'm living in a 4-person dorm with bunk beds and individual desks. Rumor has it that roommates are assigned bed numbers based on their birthdays, and I ended up with bed number 3. Alicia got into a university in the neighboring city, about a 50-minute high-speed train ride from me. The day she received her acceptance letter, she video called me for a full hour. She cried for the first 10 minutes, saying her mom was so thrilled she nearly blew up the kitchen. Then, she spent the next 25 minutes mapping out our future meetups. We'd see each other at least once a month, pick a city halfway between us for weekend trips, travel together during holidays, and live in the same city after graduation. Promise me. Her voice came through the screen. I still read, but with a grin stretching from ear to ear. Don't make new friends at university. And forget about me. I won't, I said. Alicia will always be my friend. She was on the verge of tears again, when her mom yelled from off-screen, "The pot's burning!" She let out a shriek and hung up the video call. I set my phone aside and zipped up the suitcase. Outside the window, cicadas chirped in waves, and the shadows of plane tree leaves swayed back and forth on the curtains, pushed by the wind. Downstairs, children were chasing each other and playing, their laughter drifting up in fits and starts. The city was still the same as ever, but I was different now. Not in the cliched TV drama finale way where the protagonist says, "I've grown up." It was that I could finally pack everything into a box, zip it shut, shove it into a corner, and walk away without a backward glance, ready for the next place. That place was vast, filled with people, and things I had never seen before. I didn't have time to look back. Never had I intended to.